Hello and welcome to Lightways at Life Astrologer with me, Anna Isabel. And today I have Trav Travers with me. Hello, Trav.
Hello, Anna. How are you?
I'm very well, and we were having a little giggle a moment ago about the very subject that I was wanting to talk about, which is planetary hours and planetary days, because you gave a talk for the Astrological Lodge of London, and I thought, what a good topic! Nobody else has talked about that on Lightways, so here you are, and I thank you.
It's okay. The odd thing is, I've given talks about it in Brighton, and but for the lodge, actually, talking about hours, I ran out of time because I had loads and loads of material. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, it went down well.
It did because I'm fascinated by this because when I'm working with clients, whether it's an astrological consultation or whether I'm wearing my um, analytical hypnotherapy hat, I always have the consultation chart next.
Yeah.
And well, it always works. But I think before we start talking about that, it might be a good idea to tell people what we are talking about when we're talking about planetary days and planetary hours.
Okay. Planetary days and planetary hours are very, very ancient. The Mesopotamians used a sexagesimal system where everything was divided into 60s, you see. And that's how we got the modern planetary hours. The days were finally, the planetary days came probably later. And because the planetary hours are more important, because of course, I've got some charts I can show you later if you want. For example, there's 24 hours in a day, just like there is today, except they're dependent on the season and whereabouts in the world you live. So on May the 1st, the planetary hour will be completely different in Los Angeles as it will be in London, which is obvious, but it's to do with the time from sunrise to sunset, and that's 12 hours. You divide it by that time by 12, and that will give you the 12 daylight hours, and the same from sunset to the following sunrise. So obviously, in a country like Britain, where I live, and I grew up in Scotland, the planetary day is a lot shorter in Scotland than it is down in London, and the night's really long in the winter. But the inverse is the same at the summer solstice. It doesn't really get dark at all in Scotland. It's with the days. That's what it should be because those are the longest days. So that's it. So they have to be. I was taught by Olivia Barclay all those years ago when I first encountered it, about 1990, and I've had great difficulty calculating it, but I still did it. But I just knew that because the newspaper had the daylight time for my area, that the Glasgow Evening Times. So I just used to look at that and add 4 minutes because it's roughly 4 minutes that the MC moves, and in the 360 degrees, and so it was quite easy to calculate the for tomorrow and all that, which it was negligible, the 4 minutes. But the difference being, I had then had to calculate out for the days I was interested in. So because I would have to do, because I was awake during the day, say, and that if I wanted to work out what was happening on Wednesday, I would have to then, and it was Monday, I would add 8 minutes. Do you see what I mean? But of course, they're dependent on the day of the week's dependent on the Chaldean order, and I don't know if I can show you. There is sort of I've got something I might be able to show up. Do you want me to show people something? I thought you might want to see a few little things. This is the ancient universe. The ancient universe, we had the celestial realm, which was above the earth, and the earth itself was known as the sublunar realm. So the sublunar, this was all moved in beautiful circular motion, and eventually worked out they all kept exactly the same patterns over a period of time. So that was all perfect and fixed. And down here was the realm of chaos, where the seasons all changed, of generation and corruption, where everything moved. So, but it's the sun that, and this is an important order, it's the sun which dictates everything, as you know. The sun's a light, it's not a planet in traditional astrology, and the moon is a light, it's not a planet. Do you understand that? These are the two great lights, and there's only 5 actual planets. And this is something which is even modern astrologers would do well to keep in mind, that these aren't planets, they're lights. They light up the day. Do you know about sect, Anna? The data chart, right? Okay. If you look, the moon has got Mercury and Venus, and the sun has Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So the diurnal charts, daytime charts, these are the sun rules, and these are its cohorts. And in the nighttime chart, the moon rules all nocturnal charts, and these are its 2 cohorts. I've got another little, the interesting thing, because a long time ago, I don't really like just taking things for granted, so I just decided there's a planetary day as we know it. So this is what we know as it goes: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And the planetary hours follow the same order, but I will tell you a bit more of them in a minute. And you've got to be realistic about this. The sun's a masculine planet, so the day ruled by the sun is going to be masculine. Got that? And it's at the diurnal cycle, it'll be hot and dry, and it's the greater light. So the things to do on Sunday should have a sort of more slightly, I know it's meant to be the day of rest in some religions, but it should be slightly more dynamic, more masculine, sort of where you a more active kind of day, where you're more focused, because of course dryness focuses everything. And the moon would be feminine. I'm just going to rattle through. Mercury is actually hermaphroditic, but it's known as feminine because of the passivity nature of it. And Venus is feminine. So we've got feminine qualities, feminine, and we've got masculine, 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 masculine. I'm just putting these here for the sake of people seeing it. There's a greater light, the lesser malefic. That's slightly dry, so it's neither here nor there. Greater benefic, lesser benefic, greater benefic. But if we take this one step further, so not got many, just a couple of wee things. Yes, I actually split it. If you think of it like this, there's 3 planets, there's 4 planets, and the week segs into, can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Moon, Mercury, Venus. So these are the ones above the moon. Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and the days of the week actually follow that order, because you've got, there's the 4 masculine planets: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we've got Monday, Tuesday, and they very nicely, they're still all the same things, but they very nicely, now that I've shown you that, nope, too many slides, this is it. They very nicely, if you look, 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4th finger, you got that? They both, each hand starts with a light, sun, moon, and then it's got the very first planet above the sun is Mars, the very first planet above the moon is Mercury, the second planet above the sun is Jupiter, the second planet above the moon is Venus, and the 3rd planet above the sun is Saturn. So you've got this rather nice sequence. And as you would expect, these days have these qualities. Now, the planetary days were in, let me go back to you. How do I get back to you?
Just stop share.
Yes.
Just stop sharing your
That's fine, because I'll just show you a planetary hours thing later, and if you want more, I can show you. So that got me thinking, and people use the days of the week, and you can still find manuals, textbooks for married ladies who were getting married, especially in America, we could do, because specific tasks were linked to specific days. So, for example, Monday is still a wash day because the moon governs water. It still is. Mars was the second. See, Mars was the second day of the week, and Mars is hot and dry. So that would be the day that you did all your ironing, right? And those kind of Martian things, you know. And Mercury is the third day of the week in the Western society. Anyway, Mercury governs two signs of the zodiac. The Sun and the Moon only govern one, but one of them governs the hands. And it was the time you did needlework and wrote letters and did correspondence and worked out the bills. And the next, and I just chatted around the village and things like that, because you were too busy on Monday and Tuesday catching up from all the, because of course women were stuck in the house. It's interesting that Monday, that day of housework and washing, it's still usually women that do it, no matter where you go in the world. I'm sorry. And on the Thursday was the day you went to market, which was Jupiter, where you communicated with towns and you got new ideas. They went to Senate in Rome. My dog's barking. Friday was a sociable day because it's Venus, so it's a passive day. So it's a day to just sit back and enjoy yourself and soak things up, because Venus is a cold and wet. David, I'm quite into all the elemental things. I should be giving a talk about this at the lodge again, because they did ask me, but I'm definitely giving it in Brighton soon. But if you think about cold, it denotes a lack of activity, and wetness is a connectivity rather than a crystallization. So it's a sort of day to just sit back and let it all and just soak in the vibes, which of course is very wet, isn't it? And Saturday was a cold, dry day, where it was, so the coldness is the same thing, but it's a very focused kind of way of working again without doing too much. And that's usually, and because it's Saturn, it will be tougher anyway. That's always been the game where in some societies you prepared for the weekend and did all the finished all your cleaning, and you know, for the coming day. But of course nowadays you can just flick a switch and the washing's done, and etc. It's easy to buy food. So, but it's a day that you tend to do your hobbies and you stick to it religiously. It's a sort of a, don't you? Because some days sort of mishmash till you get to Friday when and you begin to wind down, which is very cold and wet. And Saturday's cold and dry, so you've had all the fun and you can just sort of do nothing. And of course Sunday's hot and dry, so it's quite interesting, the elemental leap from. I get the time to say all this because it's a lot to take in, but there is a humoral now. So you've got it, haven't you? You've got it.
Yeah. Well, I had never. That was the thing, is that I haven't really given much thought to the links between the planets and days of week. I mean, obviously, I know the correspondence, but I hadn't really made the connection to how they were used. And yes, the first time I came across this idea of Mondays being wash days was when I was at university and I was studying sociology. And I read a book called More Than a Labor of Love. And it was about women in this mining town in Northwest Canada, and how all of their work was so essential, not because they were essential to the economy in the direct sense of earning money, but they kept their husbands going to do that hard labor by doing all these. So it was very interesting. But that's the first time that I came across Mondays being wash days, and they called it Blue Mondays. Because they hated doing the washing,
because it was all in a stream, wasn't it? It was bloody nightmare.
Yeah, that's hard work, and in a mining town, you can imagine, how dirty things were. So this was really difficult. But I hadn't thought about it in terms of the days of the week, and I'd forgotten all about this until you mentioned it.
And if I was to tell you, and nowadays you get a lot of like polyester, cotton, that's it, and fabrics that don't need iron. But if you think iron, it's actually called ironing, and it's Tuesday's a day ruled by Mars, which rules ironing, and you need bloody heat to get that fixed. It's a heavy day of physical labour, and you're quite right. These women actually kept the whole economy going, really, when you think about it.
They did. They made it possible for the men to do the hard work that they did. So it's absolutely vital. But it's just, now I'm thinking about it in modern terms, and I'm thinking Saturday tends to be the day now when people do all their jobs. So,
Yes,
it's hard work, all the day where you do all the jobs. And Friday night is very often for many people the socializing night.
yeah, well, that's Venus.
And, that's the whole thing about thank God it's Friday, that
It
whole thing.
is cold and wet, just like a drink. It's cold and it loosens you up too emotionally. But that's the whole point. It's a sort of I've had enough, so you just stop, so you cut off. The other thing about Wednesday, if you think about it, when you finally bloody slogged your way like Sisyphus up the hill and get to the top from the washing, and then they're doing the ironing and folding it, and you put all the heavy stuff. Yeah, it's no wonder it's the middle of the, because Mercury it partakes of both genders, as you. I don't need to tell you all this. And it is a psychopomp, and it's always hovering near the sun. It's bang in the middle of the week, which probably never occurred to you. It's obvious when I point it out to you. And that's probably the first time in among all this, what's been and what's coming, that you've had a minute to use your mentality to communicate with other people, because you're too busy battering your linen off a rock somewhere. It's I go to Suffolk a lot, and there's a place called Washbrook, and that's this little village is exactly had a brook for what they all did, but it's still kept its name. It's quite interesting. It's very interesting.
So, okay, so we can see how this is expressive of a way of life, and it continues to have some resonance in
Yeah.
modern. But I think if we think about the planetary hours,
I want to get to that in a minute, though, because they're more important. I wanted to tell you one, if you don't mind, tell you another thing. I have written. I've got my own website, but I've also got which I haven't. I was ill for a good few years, so I've not really touched it, but I'm back. Victor Oliver published this the Planetary Day, a little poem, and it's on Astrodynes took it because it's a little short article. That Monday's child is fair of face, Tuesday. I actually wrote about why they did all that, so that's quite easy to find. And these were quite common. These day of the week almanac type of and a lot of the old Hellenistic astrologers actually used it in your birth chart. So if that's the planetary hour, forget it. But the planetary day, it starts with the planet it's named after. So Sunday's the sun, and it runs continuously. I'll show you a planetary hour table, but the planetary hours are more important. But every chart I do, because I met Barbara Dunn about 1990. That was when I lived in Oxford. That was my first introduction to. I did a horary astrology course. I lived in Banbury, and every bloody Tuesday I drove a round trip of 170 miles back and forwards to London and get in at 2 a.m. for 10 of us to do this course. And then I did Olivia Barclay's. But I was always fascinated because people used to tell me, all these old astrologers that just used to stand up and bark at you, and you were terrified to speak. And the reason everyone get up is because the ascendant changed. And in those days, it used to take me an hour to do a chart. And I know I did all these things, and the ascendant never bloody changed one jot. And I realised during the horary course that it was the planetary hour had changed. That's what's changing. It's not and you can use it in racing, and because it's a much better indicator of what's going on. I use it all the time, all day, always since then, because I've got one of these now. I don't need to work it out.
It is interesting because, some ascendants, as we know, are signs of short ascendancy, and therefore they change very quickly.
Yeah.
Others, last much longer. So it is very curious to look at the planetary hour, because what you're looking at is the nature of that particular hour. And it's, we were laughing as we got together, because I was delayed, and so our recording started a little bit later. I had anticipated that and warned you, but actually it took even a bit longer than I had anticipated. And what did you say to me? Well, it was the hour of Saturn, so I figured I better hang about.
And Saturn was in the mid-heaven. Not only that, it was actually squaring the ascendants, and it was the second strongest planet in the chart. So it definitely delayed everything. It didn't mean it would stop it, because it did govern the ascendant, which is a consideration before judgment, which you shall know about in Horary. These are very underrated. Did you want to go and speak about planetary hours? That's okay. Planetary hours. I had another, just to show everyone. You can go into my website and copy. This is my planetary hours table. I just want you to see it if it decides to open. I don't know how this works. There we are. What to do? Share screen, you said?
Yes. There it is.
You can see the Chaldean order. It doesn't go horizontally and vertically. It goes horizontally, because it goes Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then so there's a whole Chaldean order from Saturn to time ad infinitum. That's it. So that's all you need to know. And I was just going to show you this. This is the kind of thing you can do with planetary hours. I was a nurse for 40 years. And we had quite a flaky boss. Flaky, she had a bit of a screw loose, and she was a pain in the arse, quite frankly. I used to start work, the actual day started at 8, and it was quite easy. I only worked a 4-day week, but I just used to do this because I was used to doing it and seeing what happened at home. And I used to say to everybody, it's a moon, that should say hour. It's a moon day and a moon hour, because it's the first day of the week. Do you understand? And we'd say she's going to be a bit emotional, she's going to be belligerent, she's going to be chatty, she's going to be buoyant. This is quite rough, of course, Anna. She's going to try and win us over, and she's going to be a grumpy old witch. And I would then, when I got to work, before I started, I'd have a cup of tea, I'd open my phone, you see, and I'd have a look. And the one thing I found really, really interesting about this very first week in particular when I worked, was all these planets somehow happen to be as far away from the moon as they possibly could be. Apart from the moon was away from the sun, but this had opposed them. These had all opposed the moon that week, and I noticed we all tried to dodge her. I said, let's try and hide from her. Because you can get lost in a sort of little hospital. But it does give you a flavour of what to expect. And if you've got a Planetary Hours programme on your phone, then, and you're like I did, I just went, what's the hour? Oh, Saturn's squaring the ascendant. It's like I did with you. I sort of half expected a delay, just because I'm used to it. But when you use this, I'll just shut this down and unshare and tell you the more interesting things. In your own chart. That's what I was going to say. If you do your own chart, I've got Capricorn and Aquarius in my 4th and 5th house, and I always find when I'm out, I'm buying something for my home, or so I can tell when I'm getting annoyed, because I've got Mars in Scorpio in the 2nd, and my partner, he's Sun in Leo in the 11th house, and I've got a Moon in Leo, and they're conjunct. So he's got a diurnal chart, and I've got a nocturnal, and my dog's got a Sun Leo too. So it's not the Jupiter as I would have expected. And every time, like he comes in with the dog, there's usually a sun hour, or one of my friends, because it's 11th house. If you just pay a little bit of attention to your own chart, you can actually start to feel, it sounds ridiculous, it sounds stupid. I've been doing it for 20 odd years. I've kept a little notebook, and just to say, and I look at the time of everything, just if anything interesting happens, and that's
So let me get this straight. Are you saying that people of a particular sign are likely to connect with you or find you at the time pertaining to that sign, to the planet ruling that sign?
Yes, because I can be in this house on my own, and Andy and the dog will both come in. They both get Sun Leo, and it's in the 11th house, remember? Then my friend phones, then someone comes to the door to deliver a packet. Everything all seems to happen all at the same time.
Same time, okay.
And I think that's that Leo, that whole sun hour kicking in. I usually find in traffic all the that people give you and all the when I want to sort of speed up a bit. I never do. I just don't because I'm not that good a driver anyway. Is Mars. I always find, but Saturn as well. If I buy something for my home, it's usually Saturn again because it's the second from the fourth. You can change your own chart.
So now you're relating it to the houses. So you're saying, you know, look at the planetary hour.
The house.
And the
rules. They came first after the planets.
Yeah.
Okay. After the planets.
And that's the time of the activity that you're going to have. And
yes.
Just to clarify for everyone in that table that you were showing, what we're saying is that for those of you who are unfamiliar with the planetary hours and how they work, is that once you know which day is ruled by which planet, that planet of that day. So for Monday,
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying any day of the week, the planetary hours are more important than the day because they came first. They came first.
Right. But I'm just explaining how we're calculating this. So what we're saying is that the first hour of the planet that begins the day is the planet of the day. So
exactly.
On Monday, the moon will be the first hour of the day.
At sunrise.
That's right, at sunrise. On Tuesday, it will be Mars, and so on it goes. So that's just for those who are unfamiliar with this. That's what we're doing. And so then
I did that just to prove, my colleagues have known I've done this, just to prove that we could work out what kind of mood this, we didn't hate her, she was just a bit flaky, what kind of bloody mood she would be in. It was the easiest thing in the world. If the moon was in fall, she was a right harridan, you know, if the moon was in Scorpio, it was like that Mars thing going on, you know, what's happening? Or she was sullen and silent, like, because it's a mute sign. So, but we knew we'd be in trouble. That's all. So that would be a Tuesday morning at 8.
So this is really an invitation for everyone to have some fun and observe the planetary hours and what's going on in your life. Or if something happens, go back and check what was going on at that particular planetary hour, because you be amused to discover what was going on there.
Or surprised. The other thing is some of the modern attributions to planets don't work. Your sun is your spirit and your essential being, not the heroic quest, and the moon is your body and all the humoral fluids within. So you've got, if you do planetary magic, you've got to just watch out that you don't. That doesn't mean, I'm not saying that you're going to die, but you've just got to be. Sometimes because I was very ill for a while, and I noticed when I was really ill, I had the sun in fall and the moon in fall at the same time. You see what I mean? And stuff like that, when I was looking with the sun ruling the ascendant, and I thought, so some of that's all. It still means noble people and doing things you're enjoying, this hot dryness, but hot dryness can be a fever. That's more likely than Mars. But you can, if something happens, you see a car crash or you trip and fall. I scrape in a rush to empty the bins, because the bin, I'd walk my dog at 7 in the morning, or I grab the bin and scrape my hand right down a gate post, and I got all these what they call shards, we call them skells in Scotland. They don't live in Scotland. And I had to end up going to hospital, all removed. It was bloody awful. I managed to get the bins done, which was, and that happened on the Mars when it was retrograde. So, you know what I mean? So it's...
So, okay, well, we have given everybody some food for thought.
Sorry, I'm going all that.
And if they want to listen to your talk, I will have a link to the Astrolog's website so that they can find the recording of the talk. But if people want to find out more about your work, Trav, how do they do that?
They can just email me.
And so I can put your email address in the description box. But do you have a website?
I do, but to be honest, when I say I wasn't well, I mean I nearly was. So I'm only recovering now. That's 2 years later, so I'll get that organised as soon as possible. I seem to
So,
be very popular to talk at the moment, so.
so what I'll do is I'll put your email address in the description box if people would like to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for a very fun foray into a very ancient aspect of astrology.
I'm sorry it was so brief. And the other thing is that Trav Travers, astrologer, or my website's called the Astrological Explorer, because that's what my group was called, the Astrological Explorers. And it'll give you a basis and things you need to know about traditional astrology that might help.
Good. That's the Astrological Explorer.
Yeah.
At .com.
I think it is, yeah. You put in Trav Travers, the astrological, Trav Travers, or whatever, it comes up. I think it's because it begins with A. It's usually one of the first things that pops up.
All right.
It's been lovely to talk to you.
And to you. Thank you so much, Trav, for your
We'll
time.
talk again. You take care now. Thank you.
And thank you all for watching next
Bye,
time.
everybody. Bye.
And next time, we're going to be talking about temperament. Until then, goodbye.
Tell me when that is and invite me to it. Bye-bye.
I will.